Good evening and welcome to this week's Eve Market, welcome to this week's Eve Prosper Market Show. I am your host, Lockefox, and oh boy, do we have so much to talk about this week. To get us started before I actually get into the show, I just want to make a couple of quick notes. One, I will not be broadcasting next week. There will probably also not be a blog. I have family in town. It's Thanksgiving here in the States. It's going to be a quiet week in Eve, I expect, next week. So enjoy the time off. Have some fun outside of game. The next thing is that, again, I'm still trying to work up some interviews. If you know someone who you want to hear on the show, go ahead and drop me a line. You can reach me through Twitter at HLibIndustry. There's also all sorts of other methods. Just about any of them will get through to me. The last one that I put out last week, it talks about monetization. If you have comments or strong feelings, go ahead and read that blog. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started into the show. First, I just wanted to, this is last year's data, so I don't have a ton, I don't have this cooked up for this year. As I said before, I expect things to be extremely quiet next week. This was the same period last year. We had the launch of Rubicon, and we saw a seriously low activity time, both in violence and on the market. So keep that in mind. If you think you're missing anything, you probably aren't. Next, because I'm self-indulgent, the computer is completed. Haha! I really should get a good battle station picture, but things are still kind of a mess. I'll be putting a post on the blog as soon as I have the whole picture album sorted out and all sorts of pretty pictures figured out. So that would be that's the new main rig, and oh boy, it is awesome. Moving on, let's talk about the this week's news. We didn't get a lot of game news for the Rhea launch, and I think that's because they're saving a bunch of news for the Eve Down Under event that should be starting tomorrow. There was a little bit of news, but not a whole lot to talk about. So let's just go through what we have. First, the bowhead images finally came out, and I'm actually a really big fan. I think that it's a cool design. I'm totally gushing. It's right up my alley for what I like in ship design, and I can't wait to see these in the space lanes. According to Johnny Pugh, who has been doing breakdowns of all of the new models and new ships in CC, it's longer than a Providence, which puts it at ridiculously long. So I'm looking forward to seeing this for real flying out there. And again, if you're interested in the new models, textures, things that are going on the test server, Johnny Pugh on YouTube is a great place to go look that stuff up. Next, there is a bit of a spat going on, which is putting a kink in my development. Z Killboard and Eve Kill, the developers behind each of those, are having a bit of a falling out, and a lot of the Killboard stuff is completely hosed to hell right now. The quick and dirty of it is that if you host a Killboard that is tied to Z Killboard, your updates are being broken because the Stomp service has been shut down. And that's what all of the remote killboards use to keep live. Carbowak, I believe is how you pronounce it, over at Eve Kill, is working on bringing up Eve Kill to try and make up for it because of their falling out. but he needs API keys. So if you have an API key, if you have your Corpse API key for scraping kills, I strongly encourage you to go put it on eve-kill.net and see if we can't get the services back up and running. And hopefully things will get migrated real soon and I can get back to developing the kill pull downs that I was hoping to bring to the show. The last piece of dev news that's coming out is that we're getting a Crest endpoint for market data. This is one of my one of the Eve websites that absolutely blows my socks off every time I see it. It's null-sec.com. They host the tournament 3D playbacks, which if you haven't watched those, they are amazing. And so Fox 4 announced this morning that that this new Crest feed for getting the live order book from each region was going live, and not a couple of hours later, nullsec.com has a viewer that works just like the market outside. So I am just paint me all kinds of impressed. For if you're a third-party dev and you haven't seen what's going on here, you need to know, don't expect this to be a drop-in for any sort of spreadsheet or mobile app. The way the Crest feeds are authenticated is not going to work for most applications that can't thread their requests. But if you that does also mean that the feeds coming from Eve Central and Eve Market data should be better authenticated, and it also means that we can finally close once and for all cache scraping, which will be a great thing to stop having everyone who uses Contrabtastic quietly breaking the EULA in the background. So that's a great piece of news. I'm excited to see it. I probably will be relying on Eve Central for feeds for this show, but I will definitely be looking into direct Crest feeds. I'm just afraid of how much data that will be when I try to save it off. So that's it for the news this week. If you guys want me to cover like player news, I'd love to hear about it, but I'm having a hard time trying to enable that. So moving on, speaking of Plex, if you were on social media at all today, you saw that Plex Ingita hit 1 billion ISK finally. This is a lot sooner than I expected it to happen. If you've been watching the show for the last few weeks, I said that I expected 1 billion ISK Plex sometime in the around February 1st, and we just plowed right past 900 all the way to 1 billion in the course of a week. So everyone wants to know what this means and if Plex is going to climb ever higher, and so let me try and give the boil down as quickly as I can. Plex runs by its own rules. It is not really tied to any other market. It is only an indicator in so much of players making it an indicator. And this run up to 1 billion, I think, is incredibly unstable. We have for the last month been sitting, if you look at this bottom chart, the RSI, we've been sitting above the 70 mark for almost a month now, over a month, and which is an indication of oversold, I believe. And as we climb even further into that oversold territory, I expect the prices to be unstable. So if you can get 1 billion ISK for Plex that you're sitting on, feel free to sell it. If you are holding Plex to keep your own value, then keep holding Plex, because I still think it will be going up in the coming months. I don't think we will see a I don't think that we will see a roll off of the upward trend until the spring. If you are looking to Plex your account, I'm sorry, it just sucks to be you. The other thing is that if you're looking to get into the speculative market, if you're looking to get Plex either out of game or in game, I expect a Plex sale to be coming up very soon. I expect a Cyber Monday thing, or maybe a early December, or a Yule Lads tie-in. I expect a Plex sale between the Thanksgiving and Christmas that should take a lot of the steam out of this climb if it's a reasonable sale. Though we haven't seen any good sales during the Phoebe release, so CCP might just be trying to make hay while the sun shines. We'll see how it goes. Only CCP knows what CCP is going to do. I can only speculate on which way the markets are going. I would like to note that Plex tripped the most extreme price monitor we have on the tools that make this show. This deviation from the moving average that is this high is extremely out of the ordinary. It is flagging our 2.5 sigma on both bins, and I think that's what, 90th percentile, 98th percentile, I believe, out of line. So it is moving way outside. It's moving way up faster than it ever really has, is what I'm trying to say. So if we move on from there, let's go talk about the general outliers, places where you can go make some money on the side if you're willing to gamble along with me. First has been data cores. They changed pretty big time in Phoebe, and there are a lot of data cores that are seeing a huge spike in volume bought, but have not seen a price spike. This includes high energy physics, laser physics, molecular engineering, nanite engineering, and nuclear physics. But there are a few of these that have gone up and have not stopped going up. And those have been quantum physics, which we're looking at right now, and graviton physics, which is finally showing some abatement, which is really great. And the last one, which I didn't have in this chart, was rocket science. The thing that has me a bit confused is with data core prices, with these things selling 100 times more than they had in the past at a nearly 2x price. Where the heck are our Caldari Faction Warfare LP guys? This is a golden opportunity if you have Caldari Faction Warfare LP to cash out, and cash out big. These prices are way higher than stable. I expect data cores to be under the 200,000 mark, and we have been above that. We've been at 250K for 2 weeks now since the Phoebe launch. So if you have a way to get Faction Warfare loyalty points from the Caldari, you go get it, you go cash out, and you go make a big buck. The next one I want to talk about, which has been coming up a lot, I know I've covered this like every other show, is medium core defense field extenders. The price has been bouncing a bit higher than usual, and if you are in the game of producing, then this would be a great opportunity to go make a little bit extra cash, especially with wormholes generating Tech 2 salvage. This might be a great opportunity to go make some pretty hefty margins. Again, I'm not in the Tech 2 rig production market, but this is really tempting me to go try. So the next one is the medium hyperspatial velocity optimizer 1s. I bring this one up because it's spiked and it's coming down, and I sort of expect it to overcorrect, but I might be completely wrong here. So just keep an eye on it. I almost cut this from the show. I probably should have. The next one I'd like to bring up there are a bunch of pithy A through C types and X types that are absolutely tanking, and I think this is again because of the wormhole change in Phoebe that brought null-sec sites to wormholes in C1 through C3. If you were looking at pimping out a rig, and there was a particular shield mod seemed to be taking it the hardest right now, that you were holding off on because it was too expensive, this might be a chance to go pick up some and run around with a little bit extra bling, and not be putting that much extra on the line. I just picked the medium shield booster because it was the first thing that flagged, but there are a bunch of modules, so I think it's worth your time to go walk through your wish list and see if you can get yourself something shiny for Christmas. The next one I wanted to bring up is the Scimitar, which is the first time we've had a ship trip my volume flagging criteria. The volume is slightly up for the year. It's been up for a couple of weeks, and I don't know why this hasn't tripped yet. I'm not sure where it's going. The signals say it still has a little bit more room to climb, but if you can go get cheap Fernite carbide, this might be a place to go burn it. A lot of the Moon products are up in price this week, so a lot of the ships should be following that trend, but if you're a producer, it might be worth looking at Scimitars if you're not already. The next one, by special request, and I totally forgot who, it was asking about Hictors because the roles had changed with Phoebe, and especially with Supers now, Capitals using gates, and the Hictor Infinipoint being able to stop Capitals from jumping gates. And the thing I found interesting is that I didn't get to look into shield hacks in time because I'm bad and I am so behind schedule. But both of the armor Hictors are down in price. The volumes are higher than usual. These ships are actually one of my favorites to produce, but are extremely hard to get rid of. And I find it a little bit odd that the armor Hictors are taking it so hard. This might be because they are slower than Snot, and Hictors are already worse than trying to drive a Snorlax on ice. And both the Devoter and the Phobos are down over the last week, and I don't see them rebounding back up. This might change. It's possible that it could change. This might be a decent opportunity to buy in if you're willing to speculate, but I won't be. So take it with a grain of salt. The next one I found interesting was the Capri Charger 2s seem to be lower than expected. This could be due to the change with Phoebe with the invention changes that allowed stacking multiple invention runs, and so a bottleneck may have cleared up and the margin is falling suit. But it looks like an overcorrection to me. The item is popular enough that even if you did end up with a bad investment, you would be able to get rid of it pretty quickly. A couple of other ones that were flagging weirdly is Capital Remote Repairers have been on the either on a severe rise or a severe fall. They have become extremely volatile after Phoebe, and I'm not exactly sure why. If you see here the Capital Murky Remote Shield Booster, which is the meta version for Capitals, has been spiking up and then falling down over the last couple of weeks. And I think if I had some extra if I had some extra Concord LP to burn from incursion running, I would probably build up a few of these, probably no more than 10, and I would try to catch the top of those waves. It looks like they're coming in every 5 or 6 days, so you might be able to go catch a decent payout at the top of one of those waves. I'm not sure if this is going to stay around, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Light missile launchers are also tanking, and again, I think this is because of Phoebe and the invention change. I don't expect them to come back up because they're just too easy to produce right now. So if you're in light missile launchers, either you're making more because you're producing more, or you're taking it in the teeth because now the margin is gone. I'm not particularly sure. Another one that I found a little interesting was the Talos. It looks like it hit a bubble. I'm still not sure why. Actually, no, I do know why. In the Phoebe run-up, it was probably people picking up not the blighted weapons, they changed the names, but the special no-tank weapons. And they may have overbought. So I think we're in an overcorrection at the moment, and if you have the means to build, or if you're willing to sit on a few, this might be a good chance to buy. The Dagoon is another popular ship right now. It is on a rather high climb in the last few days, and I'm not sure who is driving that. It seems like a new popular meta is out there that's recently taking over. Not really sure who or what, just that they're running a bit higher than usual, and this might be a good chance if you're a T1 producer to make an extra couple of bucks. Biocells are way up in Planetary Interaction. I sort of don't expect... I expect PI stuff to go down now that the restrictions are gone from Phoebe on... now that there are no more restrictions on trial accounts, they can set up PI colonies. Disa is asking what the last item was. That was the Dragoon is good for the T1 producers. I expect most of the low-end PIs, the P1s, the P2s, and maybe robotics, to come down. Sorry, I lost my train. With trial accounts able to run PI colonies, it is possible to run burners that are producing PI for you for essentially free. So I expect the low-end PIs and maybe robotics to come down in price. So this Biocells peak is extremely weird. If you're in the speculation game, I would expect an overcorrection, but I expect it to settle lower than it was last week. That's the last of my stuff. Again, if you missed anything, the charts will be posted at the YouTube. You can check it out on YouTube, and we can talk after the show directly if you have any questions. Let's move on to minerals, and there's not a whole lot to report this week. Trit is up a little bit, but again, I sort of think this is normal oscillation up and down. If we look back a month or so, you would see that it would come up during the weekend and fall down during the weekdays, and we sort of see this normal oscillation. I think this current oscillation is also normal, and we're coming down again. If you're buying a buttload of Trit, you might want to go buy when it bottoms out again, but it's like it's hundreds of ISK, so you got to be buying a buttload of it. Next is Pyrite. Again, I think that it's doing the same sort of bouncing thing that it's going to do. It's staying in this stable holding pattern around 11 ISK. I expect that to continue. if mining yields improve, if people are logging in more miners, I expect the price to drop. If CFC's new campaign where Mittens is going to get vengeance and stuff and spin like a hurricane, then I expect the price to rise slightly. Mech Salon is down, but I sort of expect it to be down too far. This would be a great chance to buy Mech Salon if you're using a lot of Mech Salon. I don't expect it to jump much above 60. A price of 65 would shock me. But if you are in the business of using Mech Salon, it's at a low price. It's at an overly low price. It's a good chance to go buy. Isogen is staying stable, reasonably stable. It's still doing a slow slide down, so it's not really a buy or a sell. Noxium is finally bottomed out, which is interesting to see. But also the sales volumes are pretty low, so this might just be a minor abatement. If you have a bunch of Nox, I would sell it because it's going to either stay flat or go down. Drean did a huge boost last week, but then fell back down. I expect it to stay reasonably stable as well. Maybe even lose a little bit of value, but Drean tends to be sort of a redheaded stepchild. And Megasite is reasonably stable, and I expect it to stay stable. Morphite has been the wild card week over week, and it is up. It is up a lot more than I expected it to be. I don't know which way it's going to go next. Signals say down, but they're not very strong, so it could go anywhere, and I don't have a good prediction on this one. Volumes are rather low. If consumption goes up, then I expect the price to go up. But I still think the volumes are a bit anemic. Moving on, let's go talk about fuel. We saw right with the Phoebe launch a spike right before the launch and then a lull down. We're going to see the same thing over and over on all of these plots. We see a lot of volume up to Phoebe and then a die off. I think this is a lot because of lowered capital consumption. So we're seeing mostly POS use in these volume charts now. Caldari fuel blocks are stable. They're going to stay stable. There's nothing to speculate on. Oxygen isotopes, I said last week, were way out of whack and coming down. They are poised in an overcorrection state right now. So if you are in the business of making fuel blocks, now would be a great time to buy oxygen isotopes because the thing should rubber band back to about the 900 level. This was a huge overcorrection, and I think this is a lot of sell-off. So go get oxygen isotopes and buy them up quick. If you're doing reaction POSes, this is also a good chance to stock up. I know I will be on mine. We see that Galente fuel blocks sort of track the trend, but they are up. That they are a little bit up in the weekend. I expect them to track the trend, and then once the low prices wash out, they should bounce back. So either you can sell the blocks for the markup, or you can use the blocks for your own things. Next, we talk about helium, the Amar fuel. Again, we're still in a slide, and I think we're almost at an overcorrection. Again, I expect 900 to be sort of a stable price. It still seems a little bit low, gut feeling. So if you're in the business of needing helium isotopes, now might be a good time to buy. I would not speculate on them for the sake of money making. Mostly because we see the Amar fuel block is down and staying down, so I don't expect extra margin there. This one I feel extremely brilliant about is last week I said hydrogen was going to do a rebound, and it totally did. So this one I'm patting myself on the back real hard for actually getting one of these right in a pretty big way. We see that it dipped slightly into oversold territory. I'm probably getting that backwards again, so Dirk McGurk can yell at me. And then popped right back up to this sort of steady state where it was on the moving line before all of this ruckus. And we see a similar pattern here, that if you had bought at the low point, you'd be able to go make a few extra bucks on building Minmatar fuel blocks. I don't think these are consumed as much, but I just don't really know where Minmatar fuel blocks go. And then just as a review of last week, because if I get these wrong, and you guys should know that I am only a mortal man. First, I want to talk about Nano Transistors, Nano Transistors. I can totally do this. I had said that I expected the high price of oxygen to drive these up, and they spiked extremely hard. I expect this to come way back down to this 2000 level. So if you have anything that needs nanotransistors, I'd wait to buy. If you have nanotransistors, I would dump them as fast as you possibly can. And if you're reacting, then if you're reacting in a POS, then you've missed the boat on this one. And the other one I said was due for a spike was hypersynaptic fibers, mostly because it was in this too low territory, and it came up not as high as I was expecting. I was expecting about 8,000. So if you followed my advice, you got it right. I didn't have a bunch of predictions last week, so we should have more this week. And I don't have a violence report this week like I was hoping, mostly because of the Z Killboard Eve Kill fight. So I want to thank everyone who tuned into the show. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to reach me. Lockefox in game, at HLibIndustry in Twitter, at HLibIndustry on Twitch, and Eve Prosper on YouTube. I'd like to put a special thanks out again to my partner in crime on tool development, Etienne, who I don't have his last name handy and I don't want to butcher it. He's been an extreme help in getting a lot of this up and running. We recently, thanks to a recent dev blog explaining the new crest limits, we added more threading to the crest pull and have brought down the weekly database import from 100 minutes to 20 minutes, which is a huge help. He's also been adding threading to our stats cruncher, and as soon as I figure out what black magic he put in Python, I will be taking most of it. Again, feel free to tune in at 0300 on Friday nights here on Twitch. The show will be on YouTube the next day. Those of you who are hoping I put out blogs for this, I'm really sorry. That is the hardest part of doing this, and I've already run out my budget for this week on how much I can spend on this thing. So again, I'm Lockefox. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to stop this stream and be right back, and we will answer questions from the chat. So hang tight, and I'll be right back. Eric.